The French scandal that nearly started a war. In 1797, the United States was still a young nation. The American Revolution had ended only a few years earlier. George Washington had just left office. The country was weak, divided, and struggling to survive in a dangerous world dominated by European empires. Across the Atlantic, France was in chaos. The French Revolution had overthrown the monarchy. Kings had been executed. Europe was engulfed in war, and the revolutionary French government desperately needed money. At first, the United States tried to remain neutral. American leaders wanted to avoid becoming involved in the endless conflicts between Britain and France. But neutrality was easier in theory than in practice. France believed America owed it loyalty. After all, French support had helped the United States defeat Britain during the Revolutionary War. Many French leaders felt betrayed when America signed the Jay Treaty with Britain in 1794. To France, the agreement looked suspiciously pro-British. Relations quickly deteriorated. French warships began seizing American merchant vessels. Hundreds of American ships were captured. Trade suffered. Public anger grew. President John Adams knew something had to be done. He wanted peace. War with France could destroy the young republic. So, Adams sent a diplomatic mission to Paris. The goal seemed simple: repair relations, prevent war, protect American trade. But what happened next shocked the nation. When American diplomats arrived in France, they expected formal negotiations. Instead, they encountered something completely unexpected. Before official talks could even begin, French intermediaries approached them with demands. The Americans were told that negotiations would require large payments, not loans, not treaties, personal payments, bribes. French representatives suggested that money would be needed before serious discussions could take place. The demand outraged the American delegation. The diplomats refused. They considered the proposal an insult to the United States. For months, negotiations stalled. No agreement was reached. The Americans eventually returned home, but the scandal was only beginning. When reports of the incident reached Washington, President Adams faced a difficult decision. The documents contained the identities of the French intermediaries. Rather than reveal their names publicly, Adams replaced them with letters. X, Y, Z. The mysterious names immediately captured public attention. Americans became furious. Newspapers exploded with outrage. Citizens could hardly believe that foreign officials had attempted to extort the United States. The story spread rapidly across the country. The scandal became known as the XYZ Affair, and suddenly, calls for war echoed across America. People who had once favored friendship with France began changing their minds. Political rallies demanded action. Newspapers accused France of humiliating the United States. Patriotic slogans appeared everywhere. One phrase became especially famous: millions for defense, but not 1 cent for tribute. The message was clear. Americans were willing to spend money defending themselves, but they would never pay a foreign power for the right to negotiate. As public anger intensified, relations between the two countries moved closer and closer to war. The diplomatic mission had failed. Trust had collapsed. National pride had been wounded, and many Americans believed conflict was now unavoidable. But neither side fully understood that the biggest confrontation was still ahead, because the scandal that began in Paris was about to ignite an undeclared war across the Atlantic Ocean. The undeclared war nobody remembers. The XYZ affair transformed American politics almost overnight. Public outrage swept across the country. Calls for action grew louder every day. And while Congress never officially declared war in France, something remarkable happened. The two nations began fighting anyway. The conflict became known as the Quasi-War, a war without a declaration, a war without a formal beginning, yet a war that was very real. The battlefield was not Europe, it was the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean. French privateers and naval vessels continued targeting American shipping. Merchant ships disappeared, cargoes were seized, trade routes became dangerous. For the young United States, the threat was enormous. American prosperity depended heavily on maritime commerce. If French attacks continued, the economy could suffer devastating damage. President John Adams faced enormous pressure. Many Americans demanded full-scale war. Some political leaders believed France needed to be punished. Others feared the nation was not strong enough for a major conflict. Adams found himself trapped between two dangerous options: fight or surrender American interests. Instead, he chose a middle path. The United States rapidly expanded its navy. New warships were constructed. Naval officers received greater authority. American vessels began escorting merchant ships through dangerous waters. Soon, direct clashes followed. American and French ships exchanged fire. Privateers were captured. Naval victories boosted morale. For many Americans, these encounters proved that the young republic could defend itself against a major European power. One of the most important developments of the Quasi-War was the rise of the United States Navy. Many of America's most famous early warships earned their reputations during this period. The conflict helped establish traditions that would shape American naval power for generations. Yet despite the fighting, President Adams never abandoned diplomacy. He understood something many of his critics did not. A full war could be disastrous. The United States was still young. Its economy remained fragile. Its military remained limited, and a major European conflict could threaten the nation's future. While battles continued at sea, Adams quietly pursued negotiations. This decision proved controversial. Many members of his own party wanted a tougher approach. Some believed peace efforts showed weakness. Others accused Adams of missing an opportunity to crush French influence. But Adams persisted. Eventually, his gamble paid off. In 1800, the United States and France reached an agreement. The Convention of 1800 officially ended the Quasi-War. Relations stabilized. Trade resumed. The immediate threat disappeared. The crisis that had nearly triggered a full-scale war finally came to an end. Looking back, the XYZ Affair and the Quasi-War reveal something important about the early United States. The nation was no longer a fragile revolution struggling to survive. It was becoming an independent power capable of defending its interests. The scandal had tested American diplomacy. The naval conflict had tested American strength, and together they helped shape the future of the Republic. Yet today, surprisingly few people remember the crisis. Most Americans know about the Revolutionary War. Many know about the War of 1812, but the XYZ Affair and the Quasi-War are often forgotten. That makes them one of the most fascinating chapters in early American history. A story of diplomacy, corruption, national pride, and an undeclared war that almost changed the future of two nations forever.